Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to Unit 1. We're still working on Unit 1 and Lesson 3. So this is Day 3 if you've been keeping up, or you can move at your own pace, so you could be done with almost all the lessons in one day if you want. Now, this is an optional lesson, and what it means is, it says, I'll read the teacher's guide. It says, this is provided for students to enrich and give you extra practice, and you can choose to skip this lesson. But I'm just going to read you the story anyway, so you just might as well watch it because you shouldn't skip it because it'll be fun. You will read the story and notice the vocabulary words that are in it. They're going to be highlighted in bold. So grab your Wordly Wise book. You can click pause if you want for a minute. Go grab this because I want you to read it with me as I read it with you. And then after we read it and we notice all of the different vocabulary words that are in bold, we're going to answer some questions about it. So we kind of do have to be thinking as we're reading, which is awesome because then we're making more connections, so it's totally good. Okay, so we're going to need to read our story and answer our question. Here we go. I hope you have your book. Now, it wouldn't be too fun if I just sat here and read it to you, but what if I changed my hat? And first I started as a queen. Okay, here we go. Do you like to ride Ferris wheels? Let us explore the biggest one in the world. It is in London, England, and was built to mark the year 2000. This gigantic wheel stands almost 450 feet high in the center of the city next to the Thames River. From a distance, it looks like a great bicycle wheel which rotates, rotates very slowly. It does not even seem to be moving. There's my crown again. There are 32 cars. Each one can carry about 24 people. The riders have plenty of time to enjoy the views of London. It takes 15 minutes about 15 minutes for each car to go from the ground to the highest point. At the top, people can see things as far away as 25 miles. Maybe that's why this huge wheel is named London Eye. After the wheel opened in January 2000, more than 1 million people visited it. Those going aboard were not afraid. Aboard means they got on it. Those going aboard the Ferris wheel were not afraid. People know that these giant wheels are very safe, but that was not the case when the first Ferris wheel was invented over 100 years ago. Where's our invented word? Mrs. Seymour lost it. Don't worry. Invented. And invented means that someone made it up. They came up with the idea. So the Ferris wheel was first built 100 years ago. It was 1893, the year of the Chicago World Fair. The people planning the fair wanted something special and surprising to draw a crowd. They chose the design of George Ferris, a man who had built many bridges. His idea was very different. He planned to make a huge steel wheel that was supported by 2 tall towers. 2 tall towers. Big buildings. The power from 2 steam engines would turn the wheel. There would be 36 cars. Each could hold 60 people. The wheel would slowly carry people aloft and return them to the ground. This looked like fun, but was it safe? At first, people were cautious. Our word, cautious. They just didn't know, and they were kind of reluctant and kind of scared to go on it. I don't blame them. I would not have gone on it. At first, people were cautious. The wheel was very high. Chicago already had buildings that were 10 stories high. 10 stories high. But George Ferris's will was going to be at least 2 times as high as that. In addition, Chicago often had very strong winds, and maybe the powerful winds would shake the wheel or twist it out of shape. Could the people in the cars be stranded if the engines stopped? Could they be left all alone in the sky? Could they be stranded if the Ferris wheel stopped? If the engines stopped? George Ferris believed his will was safe. He decided to prove this to everyone. Ferris, his wife, and a brave newspaper reporter chose a windy day to take a ride. Can you picture it? Picture it. With the wind blowing 110 miles per hour, the 3 riders stepped into one of the cars and were slowly carried up into the storm. Later, the reporter wrote that the blast from that wind made it impossible to hear. It screamed through the thin girders, those metal support beams, the girders, screamed through the thin girders and shook the windows, but all 3 returned safely to the ground. The first Ferris wheel became a very popular ride. Thousands of people rode it all through summer. Before long, more wheels were built, and they kept getting bigger. In the year 2000, the London Eye was the tallest wheel in the world. That was a great story using all of our vocabulary words about the Ferris wheel. Man, while I was reading, I was making connections, and it was definitely helping me learn all my vocabulary words, because now I can see all of those things kind of in more of a story. I can see people being cautious to try to get on. I can see the towers that they wanted to build, and I can see the blast of wind probably scaring everyone, but the 3 were brave enough to ride the Ferris wheel. Now that we read our story and we're visualizing those words a little bit better and their meaning, let's go to the next page and answer each of these questions. So this is your independent work for the day. Answer each of the following questions with a sentence. So here's number 1. When did George Ferris invent his will? Now, if you're like me and sometimes just forget right away, let's go back to the story. When did George Ferris invent his will? It was 1893, the year of the Chicago World's Fair. So you'd have to write it with a sentence. You can't just say 1893, you have to write, the Ferris wheel was invented in 1893. Make it a complete sentence. Do your best work and show it to your learning coach and have them correct your work and make sure things look great because you do the best work. And I'll give you a bam for your best work. Bam, bam. Thanks for reading the story with the little princess today. Bye. Let's do our connection minute. Go give your learning coach a high five today and tell him thanks for everything they do for you because their job is really hard. Seriously. Go give him a high five and say, you're the best learning coach in the West. Says Mrs. Seymour and me. And you can even pound it. Or you can even just give him a thumbs up. Have a fun day.